Most people think God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because of one specific sin. It's repeated in almost every sermon you've ever heard on this story. But the actual text never says that's the full reason. Because the real sin, the one God names directly, was how they treated strangers who needed help. And that changes everything about how we read this story. Before we even get to Sodom, I need you to understand something about hospitality in the biblical world. This was not just good manners. This was not just being polite. In the ancient world and throughout all scripture, how you treated a stranger was a direct reflection of your relationship with God. Hebrews 13:2 says, "Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it." That's not a suggestion. That's a reminder that the stranger at your door may carry more weight than you realize. Abraham himself in Genesis 18 saw three strangers approaching and ran to meet them. He bowed low. He offered water, food, and rest. He treated them as honored guests before he even knew who they were. That was the standard. We're talking about back then. That was what God expected of his people. And the reason it mattered so much is this. Caring for the stranger, the outsider, the person with nothing to offer you in return is one of the clearest expressions of the character of God. God himself makes that connection in Deuteronomy 10:18. He defends the cause of the fatherless, the widow, and loves the foreigner residing among you, giving them food and clothing. So when a city does the exact opposite of that, when it meets strangers with contempt and violence, that is not just being unkind. That is directly opposing the character of God. That is what Sodom was doing, and that is why it mattered so much. Now let's look at the night everything came to a head. Most people read Genesis 19 and only see one thing: a mob demanding to assault Lot's guests. And yes, what happened in that city was depraved. It was wicked. Scripture is clear on that. Jude 7 confirms it. Sodom and Gomorrah indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desires. I want to be clear. I'm not saying God is not against immorality. He absolutely is, because he is a pure and a holy God. But here is what most people miss about the whole scene. Lot risking his own safety to shelter those two visitors. That wasn't a side detail. That was the entire point of the contrast the chapter is building. One man in the entire city opened his door. One man said, "You are welcome here. You are safe here." And the rest of the city showed up at the door and demanded the opposite. The men of that city weren't just expressing some unchecked desire. They were trying to dominate and violate outsiders, people who came in need of shelter and were met with a mob. That's not just sexual sin. That's a city that had become so hardened, so proud, so hostile toward anyone outside its walls, that violence against strangers had become normal. The sexual sin was real, but it was the fruit of something much deeper, a total collapse of any sense of duty, decency, or care toward other human beings. Here is where scripture gets very specific and very direct. Genesis 19 shows you one night in Sodom. Ezekiel 16 tells you what God's actual verdict was. Ezekiel 16 verses 49 to 50 says this: Behold, this was the guilt of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters had pride, excess food, and prosperous ease, but did not aid the poor and needy. They were haughty and did an abomination before me. So I removed them when I saw it. I want you to go back and read that again carefully. Pride, excess food, comfortable living, and a flat refusal to help the poor and needy. That is God's own stated charge in his own words through his prophet. Sodom had abundance. The land was fertile. They had more than enough, and they used that abundance to build a comfortable life for themselves while turning their backs completely on anyone who needed help. The sexual immorality was part of the picture, but Ezekiel makes clear that the root of it was pride, self-indulgence, in a city that had grown so comfortable it stopped caring about anyone outside of its circle. That is the fuller truth most people have never been taught. And I want you to sit with that for a moment, please, because a city full of pride, excess, comfort, and indifference toward the needy is not hard to picture today. We see it all over. Now, I want to bring this home. I've seen it firsthand. People who are new to a neighborhood, new to a church, and the people already there just shut them out. No welcome, no acknowledgement, just cold. That's the spirit of Sodom, not in some dramatic, extreme way, just quiet indifference toward people on the outside. Now, this is not a call to recklessly give without wisdom. I had a friend who once refused to co-sign for me when I was younger and wanted things before I'd really work for them. At the time, I didn't understand it, but she was right. When people don't work for something, they often don't appreciate it. Real generosity has wisdom in it. Charity starts at home and spreads abroad. But there is a difference between wise, discerning generosity and cold indifference that never even considers the person in need. Sodom had crossed so far past that line that they weren't just indifferent, they were hostile. And my honest approach, before I point at anyone else, is to check myself first. That is the posture this passage calls all of us to. The warning in Ezekiel is not written for someone else's city. It's written for anyone sitting in comfort right now. And I want to say something directly before we close. If you've invited someone into your home or into your life, treat them with the dignity and respect that God requires. Because there is a way and there is a price to pay for mistreating someone you welcome into your home. If a person is not welcome in your home, do not invite them. Simply do not extend the invitation. But if you open the door, if you say, come in, you are welcome here, then honor that. Treat that person the way God expects you to treat them, like you would want someone to treat you in the same situation. Don't bring someone in and then make them feel like they should not have come. Don't injure them. That is not just bad manners, family. According to Scripture, that is a serious matter before God. If this gave you a fuller picture of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and of what God truly values, I want to ask you to do 3 things. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a thoughtful comment below. I read every one. I've also linked related video clips on this topic in the description. Go check those out. I'm Deborah, and this is Family Still Matters, because family still matters, and so does understanding that God does not just watch what we say we believe. He watches how we treat the people he places at our doors. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next week. May God continue to richly bless you. God bless.